convenient. Okay, great. Oh, Pharm Kenneth is joining us now. Great. Oh, Pharm Kenneth, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for making the sacrifice. So, Pharm Yusuff, you can kick off now. I hope you are
Okay,
all
I'm
ready.
trying to share my screen.
Oh, okay, no problem.
It's not showing the option.
But can you see the option now?
No.
I already stopped sharing.
Okay, let me check now.
Yes.
No, it's still not coming up.
Really?
Maybe I should leave and join again.
Oh, okay, no problem. So while Pharm Adebisi is trying to join in, I would like to read his profile. Of course, Pharm Yusuff Adebayo Adebisi is a global health advocate and budding health system researcher with a special interest in global public health and developmental issues affecting the global south and beyond. He's committed to advancing global health through research, innovation, and advocacy. Adebisi is the director for research at Global Health Focus, an organization that seeks to build critical thinkers and leaders in global health towards achieving health-related sustainable development goals. He is also the director for research and innovation at the African Young Leaders for Global Health. Due to his interest in public health promotion, Adebisi co-founded Pharmacostory and started an online platform with over 80,000 members aimed at improving public understanding of basic health issues. As an emerging evidence-based global health leader, Adebisi is interested in driving sustainable health policies with research. Even as an undergraduate, Adebisi has published over 50 journal articles in many high-impact journals, including the Lancet Journal for Global Health, BMC Conflict and Health, and BMC Global Health Research and Policy, among others. He has also contributed to 2 book chapters in a global health case book by Global Health Institute of Wuhan University, and recently got accepted to contribute another 2 book chapters in a public health advocacy book by the World Federation of Public Health Associations. Adebisi has won numerous awards to attend and present in many international conferences, including 22nd Amsterdam International AIDS Conference, World Health Student Symposium in Kigali, Global Forum for Nicotine in Warsaw, Planetary Health Conference in Gambia, and International Lassa Fever Conference in Abuja, among others. His team won the 2018 Geneva's Innovate for AMR Global Competition, organized by World Health Organization, Johns Hopkins University, Bloomberg School of Public Health, South Center Geneva, REACT, Action on Antibiotic Resistance, and International Federation of Medical Student Associations. In 2019, Adebisi emerged as one of the winners of the 2nd edition of the Tobacco Harm Reduction Scholarships by Knowledge Action Change, London. That same year, Adebisi was nominated as Pharmacy Student of the Year in Nigeria. In August 2020, Adebisi was awarded the Joint Royal School of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene and National Institute of Health Research grants to conduct a study on public health responses and COVID-19. in 13 WHO prioritized African countries with a focus on risk communication, surveillance, and laboratory testing capacity. I know that by now, the profile, a lot of things will have been added to the profile by now. So from Adebisi, you can take over now.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I've been trying to share my screen, but it's not showing the option for screen sharing.
Okay.
It's just
can you
the
send it
iCloud that you're doing. Should I send to you on WhatsApp?
Yeah, send it to me so that I can help you with sharing the screen.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I've sent it.
Oh, okay, I've seen it. So let me open it.
So it's a pleasure to be with you this evening to talk about research, what research is all about, and how you can get involved, and some of the tips and strategies that you can use to build capacity when it comes to research. Hopefully, you are going to have a wonderful time enjoying this session. So, waiting for her to share the screen.
Yes. Sorry, let me put it to my Google Drive. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I'm trying to upload it to my Google Drive so that the notifications will not be distracting. Okay, I can't even share screen. You can just.
I think the option is not there. I don't know why.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. I'm doing it now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll have to upload it on my Google Drive so I can share it from Google Drive.
Okay. Have they removed the option for screen sharing directly from your phone?
I don't know, maybe because we are co-hosts.
Oh, okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm not sure what the challenge is, but you could send to me so I will share from my end if that will make it faster. Hi, Yusuff. Hi, Kenneth. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you very much.
Yes, boss.
Okay. Pharm Yusuff, please can you send it to Pharm Tiwo on WhatsApp while I try to do this?
Also, important topic on how as a young person, how you can get involved in research and what research is all about. So, my name is Yusuff Adebayo Adebisi. Amalayo said, I'm director for research at Global Health Focus. So, I'll be taking you through the basics of research and publications and what are the essential things that you need to know. And I know Kenneth also share his own perspective and about research and getting involved in research as a young person. So, what is research? Basically, one of the reasons why we do research is to understand who, where, when, how, what, why. If most of the time you see yourself asking this question, wanting to know the reason why something is like this, you want to understand why they tell us that, okay, for physical distancing, for social distancing, we have to use 1 meter. Why not 20 meters apart? Why not 5 meters apart? Why is it that it is 1 meter? Before they can arrive at that 1 meter, that means they've conducted some studies to see the safe distance between people to prevent the transmission of COVID. So if you see yourself always asking the question, or always want to know who, where, when, how, what, and why, then you are likely to be a very good researcher. And something about research is that research is not just limited to most of the time what you see research to be is that, okay, it's for publication, it's for this, it's for that. But the basic thing or the major thing why we do research
Okay, Pharm and ABC, we cannot hear you anymore.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So if you want to make informed decision, research can come into play. So research, the end goal of research is not always publication. So I'm just trying to let you know that to correct that. I think it's common misconception that it's all about publication. No, at times you can do research just to look at the problem. Like currently at NAFDAC, we are trying to do a study on to see the pharmacovigilance activities across primary care centers in Nigeria. So I'm part of the team that is working on what we'll be doing in Ibadan and looking at the centers and whether they are following pharmacovigilance activities. One of the things that we are doing is just to look at the activities and formulate a policy paper and also give recommendation. At the end of the day, we are not publishing that findings. So it's just to let you know that if you are curious and you really want to understand the underlying part of the problem or any issue that is causing a particular problem in the community, you can do a research. But then why we actually encourage publication is that that's the best way you can share the science with the whole world. You can let the whole world know the problem. You can let them learn from what you have been doing. Because if you don't publish it, nobody will know the exact issue and what you have done to circumvent any issue that you're facing in your community. So research is really very important. Even if you are a businessman or a businesswoman, research is also very important when you are making decisions. So you can do market research to know, understand, okay, if you buy this, if you buy that. So research is an essential skill for 21st century. And of course, you can't remove research because research is actually the bedrock for policy making, for decision making, and for making interventions. So if you see yourself always asking the question, who, where, when, how, when, what, why, you're always curious, you always want to understand why things are actually happening, then you are on your way to become a good researcher with just some trainings. So what research is all about? Another thing is that when we talk about research, we want to talk about discovery. We want to bring out creativity because at times it's only when you do research that you are going to be able to see some things, the way they are, how they are structured, and how you can actually bring your own idea in to solve that problem. So research is just sorry, I'm still with you. So you want to get inspiration in technology to make changes for innovation, research, development, formulating concepts, everything. You just have to do research. So you have to sit down behind your desk to think, to look at information, what has been done. Because factually, anything you are doing, even if you are not going to do research or publish anything, in our day-to-day activity, we used to do something called literature review. You might think that I'm just looking at information, and what you are doing is still literature review. You are trying to see what is known about that topic. So you can see how research is really important, but then we do this in our day-to-day activity, but then we don't really understand the implication and how we need to build more capacity. For instance, if I'm looking for I actually believe that if I'm looking for any information, I can actually get it online. You can actually get maybe an insight into that problem. But that's why, as a researcher, we do literature review just to have idea about what has happened and how you can come in. Because in research, it's very rare for you to say you have a discovery and you can't be able to link your discovery with what is known before, whether in contrast with it or in support of that thing. That's why in research we have references. So I'm just trying to let you know how everything link up together. That's why in research you have references. It's very rare for you, or it's nearly impossible. Whether you come from heaven, okay, I this my own solution comes from heaven. It doesn't have any basis, doesn't have any explanation. Then you call it, that's not science again. That's why in science, you must be able to maybe compare and contrast with previous studies, or to be able to find relationship between two concepts. So you can just say something happened, but then you are not able to give us possible links or possible explanation. That's exactly what happened to them, to Madagascar. They're telling us that they find a cure for COVID, but then they're not giving us evidence. And the thing is that the white people, and even if someone that is scientifically grounded, will not agree with you. And they must be able to give us possible explanation. That's why when you are reading pharmacology textbook, they will tell you that the exact mechanism of this drug is unknown. And you see like 20 pages explaining the mechanism, trying to tell you the possible ways by which it works. Because that's science. You must be able to think critically and tell us possible suggestion of what you think. Once you arrive at that point, then your science is not complete. So that's why you always have to work with papers that have been done before, so that you can see how far the problem has gone, understand where you can come in, and also you can provide a solution to anything that is happening. So research is very important. And actually, of course, we have different type of research. Well, depending on what you are doing and the kind of context where you want to explain the type of research that you are doing. But generally, we have this category. Some people, we also use some categorization to classify the kind of research that they are doing. But what is important is that you understand the basis of research and you understand this stuff. For example, we have primary and secondary research. When you're talking about primary research, that means that you are the original collector of the data. You are the one that collect the primary data. So what I mean by that, if your research is the primary research, that means that you go to the field, you are the one that conduct the interview, you are the one that collect the original data from the field. Then that is the primary research. And what you have collected is the primary data. So if you want to have a primary research, then of course you have a primary data that you are working with. So primary research means that you are collecting the original data yourself. You are the data collector, or maybe you are working with it, but then the data is still with you. The data you are using to write up your paper, you are the original collector. When I'm talking about the original collector, that doesn't mean that you are not using research assistants. No, it just means that you have the original data with you. Like you are the owner of that data. So nobody can come and say, okay, I'm the owner of this data. No, you are the owner. You are the collector. So when you are doing interview, when you are doing focus group discussion, when you are doing when you are trying to do quantitative interview or qualitative interview, then can you please mute our mic? Okay, so that's primary research. So example of primary research is that, okay, maybe I'm doing my final year project, I'm collecting data, I'm the owner of that data, I'm the one that collected the data. So nobody can challenge you. So I'm the owner of the data, then I can write it up on my own. So secondary research means that you are relying on secondary data. So what does secondary data mean? Secondary data means that you're not the original collector of the data. That means that someone has collected the data, but then you now use the data, or you collect the data. So an example is when you are writing something like a review article. When you're writing a review article, you are not the original owner of the data, but you are writing the data, you are writing the data up to make a particular deduction, or to confirm something, or to argue out something. So both primary research and secondary research are actually very important when you're talking about research. So you can't say primary research is not important, is better than, no. They actually have their own function and where you can use them. So secondary research, you are relying on someone's data. Maybe WHO collected a particular data on maybe maternal and child mortality, and you saw it on the website. I said, this data is interesting. I want to reuse it in my own work. I want to write a paper about it. Because WHO at times they just collect data. They won't use it for anything. They just collect it, maybe to write a report, and that's the end. but you see something interesting in that data and you want to use it, then that means that you have to take permission from WHO. And what are you using at that moment is what? Secondary data. But for secondary data, you don't need to take permission. Once you reference the original authors. Example, when you are doing review article, when you are doing systematic review, literature review, you don't need to start mentioning all the authors that you want to use that paper. No, you just need to reference. But there's some data that they will tell you that, okay, you have to take permission before you use them. Then you have to. So that's secondary research. You are relying on data that's collected by someone for you to write up your own paper. So primary research, you are the original, you are the one that carry out the interview, maybe with your team. You are the one that conducted the focus group discussion. You are the one that carried out the sharing of the questionnaire, and so on and so forth. So that's the difference between primary and secondary research. So quantitative and qualitative research. So when you're talking about quantitative research, you are trying to quantify using numbers. That means that when you're doing quantitative research, you'll be doing something like maybe using statistical tool, trying to know the percentage, trying to carry out some statistical analysis on your work. So when you're talking about quantitative research, you're trying to quantify. You won't just tell us we have 20, you don't just tell us that we have books. You want to tell us that we have 20 books. Or we have 50% of this, so and so happening. So when you are doing quantitative research, you are quantifying. You are interested in quantifying what is happening. So, and on the other hand, we also have what we call qualitative research. So when you are doing qualitative research, what you are interested in is just the facts. And there's some research that is actually the fact that you're interested in. For instance, maybe we have an outbreak in a community and you want them to share their experience. You're not interested in numbers at that moment. What you're interested in is their experiences, the experience that they actually have regarding what's happening to them. Maybe there is a serious public health emergency in a particular community. I want to understand what is the state of that problem. You have to just conduct maybe something like interview. You don't need to start saying 20% do this, 30%. No, what you're interested in is the experiences. So when you're doing something like a focus group discussion, where you have to gather people, then you have to let them talk about something or discuss something about a particular problem using a systematic guide. In that case, what you're interested in is what they say. That's qualitative. So we're not really interested in numbers when we are doing a qualitative research. But quantitative, you want to quantify. You want to tell us how much. So let me just ask this question. You are collecting data using a questionnaire. One of the parameters you have in your questionnaire includes the age, the sex, employment status, and whether they've attended a particular training before. You have that on your questionnaire. What I've just mentioned, are you trying to get a qualitative data or a quantitative data? Like you share the questionnaire to about 500 people. Can someone just tell me what I'm trying to look out for in that my study? I have the questionnaire. It's a questionnaire-based study. I have a question on what is their sex, age, employment status, and whether they've attended a particular training before. And I sent out the question to 500 people. What kind of data do you think I want to get from that kind of study? So when I'm writing it up, I'm seeing something like, okay. So when I'm writing down, when I want to categorize that part of male or female of the gender, I would say maybe 50% actually male, 50% are female. And I would say, okay, maybe people that have attended the training, about 20%, and 80% have attended the training. So that's what I'm really interested in by asking that question, using questionnaire-based study. I'm going to conduct some analysis on it, maybe using SPSS, using HAR, or using any other analytical tool, EpiInfo, to know the percentage, because I'm going to report that under socio-demographic data. So it is a what? Quantitative data that I'm trying to assess without my question. So, but then for instance, if I'm just asking you, can you please tell me how you feel during the COVID-19 pandemic? Can you tell me what you think about Pharma Incubation Hub. I want to look at how you express yourself. So in that case, I'm looking at that data I'm trying to collect from you is a qualitative data. Because it's not easy for me to tell that 20% says this. Why not use questionnaire? If I'm really interested in knowing the percentage, I just say use the questionnaire and just structure it, blah, 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 and you can think what actually applies to you. But if I'm asking you, how do you feel? What do you think? So I'm not giving you any option that maybe pick this, pick that. I'm just trying to know what you think. Then of course, I'm interested in that quality of the data that you give. So the qualitative data that you're trying to collect. So they actually have usefulness. There's a time that some studies, if you really want to get to the roots of the problem, you really want to understand the problem, then you will go for a qualitative research, because that's easy for any respondent to express themselves. And if you want to do quantitative research analysis, there's another way you analyze them. You can use thematic analysis approach, where you look at theme of what people are saying. Maybe most people are telling you that during this period they don't hit. So what I tell you, you're not judged by the percentage, you're just interested in the facts of what they are trying to tell you. So that's qualitative. But when I'm interested in maybe the 50% actually says this, 30% says that, 20% says this, something like that, then I'm interested in more in quantity. So I think you understand the difference between quantitative research and qualitative research now. So apply versus basic research. Basic research is just the bedrock of everything. Basic research is what we actually use to build up different kind of areas. So when you are doing basic research, then you are trying to get the data from the roots. You are trying to let us know what is the problem, what is the thing that we have to know for us to build further from this. For instance, you're working in the lab, you are doing something like maybe on rats, you're doing something on animals. So in a way, what you are trying to do is just trying to get maybe information, basic information, that from there scientists can build on it to actually make impact. So that's why I keep telling people that it's not about public health research every time. Basic research, applied research, they are all important. Because basic research is actually the bedrock. It's the one that will actually give us data. For instance, recently the Nobel laureate for physiology and medicine, what they actually discovered is the receptor for pain, for touch and temperature. So that thing that they just discovered is the bedrock for a lot of things. You can imagine the kind of drugs that have been made by just us understanding what happens to how is pain signaled. The signaling of pain, to understand the pathway. Just that discovery has helped to change or to revolutionize science. So it's not just about you just thinking that, okay, what I'm doing doesn't make impact. You can see some people where I know someone that is just working on protein. And when you see the work of that person, wondering what's wrong with this person, do you understand what you are doing? Because if you are just labored, for instance, Pharm, Juliet Obi, go and check out one of our papers. What she's working on, you might think that, I think she has actually facilitated a class, I think on mentorship. When you see what she's doing, you might be wondering, what is this? Because it's complex that you don't understand. That even researchers, it's only people in their field that we understand. For them, generally, they have the ability to communicate their findings. But then anything they find out can be used as basis for drug discovery. So it's not just every time about big thing that, okay, this thing actually making direct impact. Some people are doing some underground work, some protein that they focus their life on studying that protein. Because of what? Because they want to discover, they want to make it easy for people to build on it. So imagine, for pain is very critical when it comes to cancer patients. And they've used different knowledge from pain signaling, from touch, from temperature. They've used it to understand the kind of drugs that can be developed to subdue pain when it comes to cancer patients. So, but you myself, I think, what is the person doing? He's just spending his own life studying protein, studying that. But all these things are actually very important. They are basic science. Someone is working in pharmacology. All during this time, you're wondering, why is this person working in pharmacology? What's this doing? What's the important of all this? They are all important. Any form of research that is someone toying day and night, trying to understand the problem, trying to shed light on it. It might not make direct impact. You might not be seeing that this is making impact directly. But then, of course, if you apply them, if people build on them, it will definitely make an impact one day. So we also have applied. That means that they're trying to bring together all the basic science together, trying to use it to solve problems. Because what we all rely on is the basic science. You might be wondering why touch at temperature is winning Nobel Prize. They are winning Nobel Prize because of that. That's just that discovery has a lot of things, a lot of application, developing herb for sensitivity, all these things. So they're wondering why. It's just that they are important. They serve as an important bedrock. For instance, if someone is walking through a night to discover actually how the coronavirus actually replicates in someone's body, you might not actually see the direct impact. So, but some people can use that to build things that will be useful for the population. So at times, that's why if you're interested in something, just you are the one that is crazy about it, and you are the one that understands why you are doing it. So that also comes with research. Some people, they are interested in things that you're wondering, why is this person doing research on fishery? Why is this person doing research on crocodile? They're wondering all this kind of, but then they actually don't understand what they are doing. So that's why when you are coming up with ideas and how you want to kind of research that you want to do, be focused. Don't just see that most people are doing public health. Then I'm a public health, I want to become a public health researcher. If you are not convinced with that, you can volunteer in a lab, learn more about basic research, how to do basic research. You can do all these things. So just think deep and know what you're passionate about. So you have all kind of research is not just public health research. You have kind of research. But the thing is that public health research just give you a feel of direct impact because you're actually working with the population directly. It's the population based study. And that's, for me, that's what I'm passionate about. Some people are not passionate about that. Just don't like to understand the roots, go deep. What is the underlying cause of what kind of basic science can be gathered for us to be able to understand this problem more? But for me, I like to work with population. I like to work with people. I'm interested in public health research. So don't think that it's just public health research that we have. Some people are in pharmacological research. Some are in other form of chemistry, pharm chem, pharmacognosy. You all have different options. But then the path that you will take is actually different. For someone that is interested in lab research, that means you have to look for a way to volunteer in the lab so that you can learn all the basic and essential skills. That's why for me, it's actually easy for someone in public health for them to be able to have a lot of publication and build very, very fast. In some field, then, some people in a year, they can only publish once because the process of publishing in that field is so rigorous and that's what they are passionate about, and that's fine. So it's not just about public health research. If you have other passion for other area of research, educational research, basic research, pharm chem, pharmacognosy, you can go for it. Just look for a way to volunteer in a lab and build essential skill that will be useful for you. So we also have descriptive and causal research. In this kind of research, you're trying to compare, contrast, you're trying to give descriptive information about the study. So let me just, deductive and inductive research, you're trying to make deduction, you're trying to actually test some hypotheses when you're doing this kind of research. But then all these things are just names. Just understand that we have different kind of research and different kind of names. You don't need to memorize all these things. So just for you to know them, that they all exist. Some people can just say, my research is a qualitative, descriptive research. You may be wondering what this person is saying. Though it might look somehow, but then that's what they combine in their own work. Some people I can tell you, my work is a secondary, a qualitative secondary something, blah, blah, blah. Different kind of research design. So that's just a form of design. You can combine different kind of methods together for you to be able to do your research. So let me just give general pathway when you want to do your research and when you have research idea. So the first thing is that at times, I used to get inspiration from every angle. Like I just be walking on the road, I just think about something. Wow, can I work on this thing? I can just be on the toilet seat trying to leave that thing out. The one idea just come to my head. Okay, why can't you write about this? Why can't you do a study on this to understand this more? So we all have different period in time that we used to have our own inspiration and motivation. Maybe some people is when they are jogging. So when that beautiful idea comes to your head, that okay, can I actually do this study? Can I conduct this research? Is that generally you have to identify the general study area. That means that for me, I already know my own study area that if it's public health, population-based study, global health science, I'm interested. So once you know that, you might not actually, the thing is that from the beginning as a young researcher, you might not know how to start or what you're interested in. I don't tell people that if you don't know what you're passionate about, just be doing everything. You going up and down, be doing A, be doing design, be doing apply, be doing basic. Just be doing everything that comes your way on that path of what you're interested in. Clarity will come. Clarity will come. I know someone, he started with public health research, doing public health research, but he just used public health research to build capacity to understand what research is all about. Now, he's moving towards pharmaceutical company, pharmaceutical research, trying to understand pharmaceutical company and industry better. He's not focusing more on that area, but he started with public health research. So you can just start doing anything as first, just for you to gain your ground and to understand what is research and what you can do and what are the basic skills required. So now he has moved his focus now to be doing in-depth analysis of issues that affect pharmaceutical company. So if you don't have clarity, you can just maximize every opportunity that you have. Then one day, definitely, you are going to see clarity that, okay, indeed, I'm really passionate about basic research. No, I love public health research. Oh, I love this. I love that. Oh, I'm interested in reproductive health. But it's when you try everything, or you make an effort to look inward and you give yourself time to think about that area. Because another thing about research is that I would say you are still young to start worrying yourself about focusing or specializing in one area. But then if you're able to do that now, it's still very okay. But then it's not compulsory. Just see build capacity, still keep learning more about research. One day, clarity will come. So most time people use public health because it's really easy. You can get someone to plan research and do, and from there you can graduate to other form of research. But then if you have opportunity to volunteer in the lab, maybe you're interested in genomics, you're interested in infectious disease modeling, you're interested in things that you have to work in the lab, or you have to do something more scientific using a wet lab research or something, then you have to look for a way to volunteer in laboratory. Not everything that is public health research. You can also live what you're passionate about. You can also explore what you are really interested in. You can take masters if you know that, no, that's what will be useful for you. Go for masters in that area, in pharmacology, clinical pharmacy, pharm chem. Go for masters in those areas. That's what will give you that full grasp. So, but now you can start building based on what you have. So if you have that idea of what you want to do, you already choose that research topic what you want to work on. And one tip about research topic is that most people are actually ambitious. They want to do 1 million things in one study. The best form of research is a research that is focused. The aim of our research is to do this blah, 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 blah. Not that you want to do 5,000 things in one study. No, that's not how we work. The best research is the research that is focused and straightforward. So, but then for our thesis, you can see for thesis or final year project, you can see that you have maybe like 5 objectives. That's thesis. It's just for you to understand and train you on how to do research properly. But when you want to publish for publication, most of the time they want you to be more specific and to have a narrow topic. The aim of our study is to understand the use of antibiotic among the marginalized population in Ogbomoso, Nigeria. Full stop. Not that the aim of our study is to assess the use of antibiotic among rural borders, to understand the use of antibiotic among marginalized population, to understand the use of antibiotics among market women. Is not coherent. Why not publish those things in different papers? Rather you model everything up. So a good research is specific and focused. So once the idea comes to your mind, the next thing that you have to do is to conduct literature review. What has been done regarding that topic? What do we know about that topic? So it's when you know what has been done. That's how you know where your own idea will come in from, and how you can push forward science in that area. If you are interested in understanding, maybe a previous study has been conducted on the willingness of Africans to receive COVID-19 vaccine. But you notice that most studies don't assess that part of asking whether they are ready to pay for the vaccine. So that will also help you when you are developing your own study to fill up those gaps that you identify through literature review. The reason why we do literature review is to understand what is known and what is unknown regarding a particular topic. That's why we do literature review. Literature review, we do it so that we can understand what is known about that topic and and the angle where you as a researcher can come in from. So that's why if you have an idea, the first thing you have to do is to check literature, check databases. I'll still talk about how to do that maybe in our next class. So our next class will be more practical on how to use databases to search for papers. But this is just to give you the basis of how things are done and general concepts. So once you have done the literature review, you already have an idea of what is known about that topic and how you can come in from, and where you can come in from, and what you can do to push forward knowledge, to create knowledge, and to push forward science in that line on that topic that you want to work on. So once you know your topic and you know what you are doing, and you know you've conducted literature review, then you will know the best way for you to collect the data. So that's what I'm saying. At times, what will be good for your study is to conduct interview. College questionnaire might not give you the exact thing that you need. So that's why when you're doing original research, it's usually very interesting in the sense that you are the one conceptualizing everything. You're the one that will develop the questionnaire. You're the one that will ask the question. So you're the one that will develop the question. And it's very important that you do the right thing when doing all these things. So you develop the methodology yourself that, okay, I think doing interview will be useful. I think working with databases, maybe I should go and check retrospective data that has been published previously, or I should just go and check the record in a hospital database. So for me to know what has been done regarding malaria between this and so years. So you are the one that will not think of what's the best way. Is it a review? Is it a commentary that will be best for my research that, of what I want to do? So you have to start thinking of how you want to do it and the kind of methodology that you want to use. That's why research is not a play, it's not a play thing. It's something that you have to be focused, you have to be knowledgeable about for you to understand how you can contribute to knowledge. Because you remember when you are doing research, you are not just writing for yourself, you are writing for the whole world. Because in the next 100 years, I can tell you that your paper will still be online. People will still be referencing your work. That means you have to do a very good job. So for COVID-19, you see that at the beginning of the pandemic, you have to go far back to checking papers that have been published since 1990 on coronaviruses, so that we can understand what is coronavirus and we can start building from there. So you see how beautiful research is. So you might think that the work you are doing is not important today, but you'll be shocked tomorrow that your work will not be the latest thing. People now start looking out for it. Just as I've been working on coronavirus, we're wondering, I just did coronavirus. Some people by then, we might think, why is this person doing some coronavirus that won't add anything? And nobody knows that coronavirus will be the cause of relating to a global pandemic in 2019. Imagine. So you have to refer back to those papers and start to build science from there. That's how science works. Don't think that your work is useless. Your work is really important once you're able to justify it and you're able to understand the rationale why you are doing the study. Imagine someone working there and light on protein. You're wondering why this person working on protein. Protein. If you see some protein, the way they will name them, you wonder what's this. If you have a headache, you that study pharmacy for the whole 5 years, you won't be able to understand what they are doing. But that's their own area of research, and they are trained to do that kind of thing. So you are sure in the future that kind of study can win Nobel Prize. How? Because it's just basic research. Some people will build on it for them to make or to solve problems. So but we won't forget them. We will still remember. That's why Nobel Prize recognizes people at the bottom part of the research. People that are not doing something that you might actually see direct impact. But then they are all useful when it comes to research. No research is useless once you understand the rationale and when you are doing the research. So all this information you're doing, having your topic, you know the method that you want to use will constitute your research proposal. So when you're writing research proposal, what they want to know is that how will you do the study? For some studies, you have to collect, you have to submit research proposal to ethics board, especially when you're working with human being. You have to collect ethics approval. And you are doing something sensitive. Even you are trying to collect blood from patients for your study, that's sensitive that you have to get ethical approval. So it's very important that you know this. So when you are collecting some study, but for some at times when you are doing something on maybe a questionnaire-based study, we used to boycott that one and start just write it up and publish it. But the normal thing is for you to get ethics approval. But once you know you are doing something sophisticated, for instance, you are giving children drugs. They are doing randomized control trial. If anything goes wrong, who authorized you to conduct the study? So ethics approval is really very important to protect the scientists and to protect their respondents, the participants. Because the basis of doing research of collecting ethics approval is that in the past, researchers will just lie to patients. They will lie to them. They will cut their liver, cut their kidney, harvest their organs to go and do research. So it was so bad. Yes, it was so bad. Up to that extent in the past. So that's what actually led to having research ethics, because you can't just be working with people, be collecting things from them, and you don't have any rule, no principle, no principle of social justice or ethics that is guiding your research. But for questionnaire-based study, most times we just try to boycott that because we're not really causing major harm to people. But then what the normal thing to do is to get ethics approval. So when you want to submit your ethics approval to maybe IRB, the board that will approve your research, it can be in the Ministry of Health of your state, it can be in hospitals, or maybe a center that's been designated for that. You don't have to just make that research then. But generally, what should be in a research proposal, it's what you want to do, the benefit, the questionnaire, the method. No, of course, you won't have result and conclusion now because you've not done the study. It's just an overview of what you want to do. They will review it and will tell you whether it is fit, and they will give you approval once they are satisfied that your work will not cause any harm to anyone. So that's just what constitutes research proposal. So now, research activity, once you have your approval and you have your method, and you have the method, of course, you've already have your proposal, you go to the field to collect data. Once you collect the data, you analyze it. So as a young researcher, you should think of a way to build capacity in data analysis, even if it's just SPSS, Microsoft Excel, Epic Info, Stata, R, Python. So you can start to learn more about all these things when you have time. All these are available on YouTube. You can also build capacity, you can attend boot camp to learn more about data analysis and how you can analyze your data yourself. Because it's usually very good when you know data analysis and you analyze yourself, because you are the one, you are the know of the data. You are the one that understand your research. You can work with it and be able to do interesting analysis on your data. So that's also an area that you have to also look into as a young researcher to build capacity in it. But if you don't know how to do it for now, you can get someone that is good with data analysis and you can tell the person what's the kind of analysis that you want to do. So the next is to present your findings. How do you present your findings? It can be in form of reports. It's not always publication. Well, the best way that we recommend for young people is to publish your work. Publish your work in a reputable journal. Don't just keep your data under the locker and start looking for it. Start waiting for it to be there. Nobody will read your work. So communicate your findings, your idea. So general research skills that you should have. These are just some of the skills that you should have as a young researcher. But there's something I also want to talk about. What I just explained is just the path to you conducting original research. What is original research? Original means that you are collecting the data yourself, you are planning the whole form of research and you're getting all the data. But then there are times what you will need as a young researcher is not actually to carry out a primary research. You can see a problem, you can see a particular issue, a public health issue happening in your environment or in your community. You can write about it, supporting with the data. So you can write commentary, you can write perspective article, you can write letters to the editor, you can write review article, you can write systematic review, you can do meta-analysis, you can do other forms of research. But the thing is that you have to understand that we have different kind of ways by which you can indulge in this kind of to carry out this kind of research. So they're not commentary, letters to the editor, just means that you see a problem and you really want to talk about it. Maybe, for instance, during the COVID-19 pandemic, there is a shortage of medicine in your country. You can write about it, the impact of COVID-19 on shortage of medicine, based on what you've seen and what has been published in non-scientific article, something like newspaper. So you can try to write it up scientifically, write up a good article on what is happening, supporting with the data, giving a future projection of what is likely to result from this and providing recommendations. So you can write a commentary, perspective article, or letter to the editor on that topic. So let me just give you an insight on how you can get a topic for commentary, because it's not every time, especially for students, it's not every time that you have time to write, to do the whole process of research, because it's long. Like I just explained, I just try to summarize it, but the process is actually long. Getting the data, connecting it. But at times, for students, what you can do at times is just write maybe commentary or letters to the editor. So how do you get ideas and how do you know where to get the data from? For instance, you are listening to watching TV, and listening to radio, you are reading newspaper, and you see that maybe there's a cholera outbreak in a community. So you can decide just write maybe on the impact of cholera outbreak on COVID-19 response, because you are amid COVID-19 pandemic. You can write a full article on that, ruminating on that, giving critical analysis of the problem, and telling us what can be done and future recommendation and the challenges that is actually facing that particular community to respond. So you can write up a perspective letter to the editor, a commentary on that topic. It's just about sitting down in your desk, trying to analyze the problem, trying to understand the problem more, and you want to write about it. I've written a number of papers like that. For instance, when there is when African countries actually the polio eradication in Nigeria in Africa. So immediately I saw the news that day, I have to write something about it. So quickly we come together and we wrote an article on that, and it is published. Because the thing is that we as scientists, we don't really see newspaper, we don't see newspaper, television, all these things has to be scientific enough. But then we can actually use concepts from them to write up a scientific manuscript. But then the way you will write it will not just be like the way they will write in newspaper. You will give critical analysis of the problem, the future recommendation, the challenges facing that community, or any other information that will benefit the scientific community. So if I see a paper on Punch newspaper, and I see that paper, that similar information, not similar information, but it's more, there's a critical analysis of the problem in that journal article, then of course, as a scientist, the scientists will not cite or will not reference Punch newspaper, because Punch just tells us the news. They might not do critical analysis on the past issues, what is affecting the community, or to even link it to anything. They'll just tell you there's a cholera outbreak. But you as a researcher, you've written it up to give critical analysis of the problem. Me as a researcher or any researcher, we definitely cite that one that is published in a journal article, that the one that is published in Punch newspaper. That doesn't mean Punch newspaper is not good, but we don't see it newspaper to be more of a scientific article compared to when you publish that same thing, giving critical analysis of the problem in a scientific journal. So it's not every time that you have to do original research. At times you can write commentary, you can write, maybe you have an opinion, some journal accepts opinion article. So you can write up opinion article to understand the problem, what is happening, and how you can come in as a researcher. So you can write, and what scientific community can do. So you can write an opinion article in a scientific journal. So how will you know? Scientific journal usually have this part. When you see, I'll tell you how to get journals later on. But when you see a scientific journal, you will see a part called Guide for Authors or Instruction for Authors on their website. So once you see that, just go check it. You will see the kind of papers that actually are set for publication. So through that, you'll be able to understand whether they accept book review. Some journals accept book review, some accept review, some accept commentary, some accept letters to the editor. Why some of them don't? So it's when you read that guide for authors that you understand that, okay, they actually accept this kind of papers. They don't accept this, they accept that. Okay, maybe I will look for another journal. This journal don't accept it. And like I said earlier, all these things are not difficult. They're just you picking up your phone, just like maybe Journal of AIDS, just like something funny on what you are working on, Journal of Cancer. You will see a lot of journals coming up. But I will still tell you later the best way for you to know and different platforms where you can actually check out for journal. For instance, you can Google list of Scopus journals. Scopus journal, list of journal index in PubMed in 2021. You will see different kind of journals coming up. So getting journals should not be something difficult. So all these are actually available online. If you are working on telemedicine or you are working on maybe maternal and child mortality, just type it on Google. Journal of Maternal and Child Mortality. Though if it doesn't exist, it's going to give you some journals that have similar name, that can have similar concepts that you can also submit your paper to. So you just have to play around. You don't have internet everywhere now, and you have to maximize the opportunity for us to be able to know more about things and also to advance our knowledge. So that's it. Regarding you find, so once you get it, you already have the instruction for authors or guide for authors. So that will help you to know the kind of papers that the journal actually accepts. Some journal accepts original research only. Some accept commentary. letters to the editors, perspective. Some are different kind of articles. It's not just original research that you have to just collect data. Some are set to review. Like just sit down on your desk and you start writing papers first to understand something. One of the things, no review. Literature review is part of our work. Like when you are doing research, normal. But then the thing is that literature review can also stand alone as a research article. For instance, I can decide to do literature review on COVID-19 and antimicrobial resistance. Why am I doing review? Review is just to summarize all the information that has been published on COVID-19 and antimicrobial resistance, or in a systematic order, so that if anybody picks up my paper, it's going to understand the link between COVID-19 and antimicrobial resistance. So review can also stand on its own as a publication. For instance, I want to understand how far have we gone regarding COVID-19 treatment. I can do a review on COVID-19 treatment. COVID-19 treatment, a review. So I can do a review on that. So I'll just read through papers and structure it in a systematic way that if you look at it, you say, okay, wow, this is a detailed article. So if anybody picks up that paper on COVID-19 treatment, that a review that I wrote, they should be able to understand how far knowledge has gone regarding COVID-19 treatment. So review article is also very important. Like I told you, you can write a review article on a problem. Maybe you see a trend on cholera. You can write a review, or maybe a review of cholera outbreak in Nigeria. So that means that you have to review papers that have been published long time ago for you to be able to understand the trend and what has been done, and to give us. So if anybody picks up your paper, they should be able to understand what has been done on that topic. So literature review is also very important. And most of the times, for you to do that analysis and for you to be able to write a very structured article, that means that you are in a way knowledgeable about that topic and you understand. So as a researcher, you also have to increase, like you have to improve your knowledge in areas where you're interested in. Even that will even give you inspiration and motivation to engage in some topics or to even write about some topics. Because I used to tell people the basis of you writing research articles is because you are knowledgeable. If you're not knowledgeable about something, you can't write about it. Sorry. So that means that you have to read and understand that topic, or understand associated information regarding that topic, that you can build on it based on what you think about it and where you want to come in from. So you are there in research. That means that you can't just pick up your pen and start writing about telemedicine and you don't understand what telemedicine is all about. Though, if you're able to do that, you may not be able to get rich information because your own knowledge is actually limited. So first is that you have to make effort to improve your knowledge on any topic you are working on, at least to know background information and what are the possible things. Then you can start looking for more information to build on your knowledge. So when you are doing research, you also improve your knowledge. Like when I'm doing some studies on a particular thing, of course, I will enter different kind of papers, different kind of literature online. I subconsciously, even if I'm not planning to read or understand them, like I'm already understanding them as I'm reading them. Because I'm working with those papers, I'm reading them, I'm looking at them. So if you finish a paper, of course, at the end of that paper, your knowledge will improve. That's one of the things that researchers actually benefit. If you do research constantly, you'll be updated and you have good knowledge about what is happening. But then the basic knowledge about that problem should be there. So that means I just have to read general paper, read newspaper, Google WHO website, read things around that line. So as a researcher, reading and writing cannot be de-emphasized. You have to constantly do that for you to up your skill and for you to learn more about research. So I think time is going. So the research skill that you have to build, of course, like I said earlier, one of the places you can learn more about research is YouTube. I always give you assignments, like you should just go on YouTube and search what is research or basis of research. You see videos coming up. Why not take your time to actually sit down when you are free to learn more about all these things? Because that's what actually helped me. I think, like there, when I'm learning about research, I used to watch YouTube videos, watching different YouTube, different designs. So that's one of the things. Our ability to self-learn as a researcher is very important. So watch this video, you get insight, you understand what research is all about, you'll be able to improve your knowledge in that line. So writing. Our ability to write means it's not inborn. Like I just tell people, If you see someone that is the best writer, is very good writer, it's not that they born with that person. Okay, this person, as they're coming to this world, you'll be a very good writer. You can be able to write anything. It's more of conscious effort. But some people can do it effortlessly, but then they also put in effort. They put in some effort. So I know some people are going, okay, I don't know how to write. My writing is not great. But what you can do is that once you keep reading, once you are reading, and when you read, you take note of the way people write. For me, when I'm reading scientific paper, I don't just read scientific paper like when I started. I don't just read scientific paper for reading sake. I also look at the way they structure their sentences, the way they argue their point. There are ways to write science in a particular field. You said the way they write in sociology might be different from the way they write in sciences, or the way they write in arts, but the way they write in sciences. So you're entering in cancer research. You should read papers on cancer research to understand how they write their paper, the terminology that they use in public health, in global, anything, international health. You try where possible to read paper. So the more you read paper, the more you get to improve the way you also argue out your point. So if you want to improve your writing skill, you have to write more, 1, 2, and you have to read more. So subconsciously, when you are reading, this is subconsciously. It's not without you paying attention to anything while reading. Once you are a good reader and you love reading, of course, your writing skill will definitely improve. If you now pay conscious effort again to understand how people write, that is a plus. So as a researcher, you can't do away with that. The way I write now is not the way I write a few years ago. Of course, it's always get better. So the more I know that if I also look back, maybe from a few years to this time, I was also wondering, okay, my writing has improved greatly. Definitely to keep improving. So I keep telling people, and even it's a fact, writing skill is not inborn. They don't born you with writing. You are the one that make conscious effort to improve on it. And the thing is that we have been doing academic research and writing, from primary school. Well, the thing is that we don't really take it serious. At least most of the time we just cram the notes and just cram everything and go and pour it. Because textbooks are actually a form of academic writing. But then what we do in school is just to carry the book, memorize it, you don't even have time to take note of how your notes, even some lecturers are using those of 1991. Is that the kind of note that you cram, that you want to memorize how they actually structure it? Of course, no. But once you are reading scientific paper, you are reading textbook on physiology, pharmacology, you see how they actually write. Is that a form of academic writing? But we don't pay attention to all those things. I will not lie, I know. You're all excited just to pick up the information, bam, I'm going to write it the exam. That's what you're interested in as a student. That's what is actually affecting most of us. Even what you are taught in school is enough for us to be able to build our writing skill. Seriously. But then I know pressure everywhere, you are unable to focus. You just want to get the information and go and write it the exam and pass and score 90. That's what you are interested in. But then, as a student, you have to also make conscious effort to improve your own writing skill beyond you just writing, Dr. Sally, this is how you define in his notes. Word for word, just carry it down. Something about me is that when I'm writing the exam, like, I'm not used to, unless the lecturer tells us that we should put them, it's not easy for me to always do that. I wish I do one drama. If I can draw a chart in my notes to explain some concepts, to make it more clearer to me, then I will also explain to, like, I'm explaining to that lecturer it's backing that paper. Unless that paper, if I know that I have to cram these things for me to be able to pass, then I will give you like that. But if there's no, I just explain what I know, especially when I'm doing pharmacology. I will even draw some charts to be able to explain that concept, even if it's not required. That shows that you understand. But most of us, we don't make that effort to understand. I understand where the problem is. It's deep-rooted. But then, as students that want to build capacity in writing, it's not too late. Even if you are 5 level, you can be more focused and actually learn how to. Because writing even goes beyond publication. Seriously, writing goes beyond publication. There are some things that you want to write, that you have to write. Maybe you submit job application, all this kind of thing. You also have to build your capacity on how to write properly. It's just effort. You just have to keep making effort. Nobody starts one day and become perfect at it. No, it's just making conscious effort, trying to learn the rudiment of writing. And if you are focused, within 6 months, your writing should improve. If you are intentional about growing, about improving your writing skill, read papers, write more. You can form a team of friends where you critique your writing. Okay, remove this, remove that, improve on this, improve on that. Yeah, yes, just do something that will actually help you to grow, to build capacity. So writing is essential. All I've been saying, no scientific researcher you've seen that this is a researcher. I will not write. There's no way. You must write. Want to write for publication, want to write for grants, that application. All these things are actually very important. So these are the other skills that you can also learn, presentation skills and all. So capacity building is continuous in research. You have to keep building capacity. It's not ending anytime soon. I'm still learning a lot of things and seeing a lot of methodology, a lot of ways to even communicate science, different kind of ways to analyze data. I'm still learning. So even professors, they are still learning. Talk less of us, we young people. You not say you want to stop learning. No, you have to keep learning. You have to keep building capacity, and you have to be intentional about it. You have to blame about research. I'm passionate about research. I'm passionate about this. But which effort are you making to get towards that? So you have to also hold yourself that I really want to learn this thing. This person is doing it. At least Yusuff is able to publish 50 publications while still a student. Why can't I? You can publish 100. You are free. It's an open world. So why? What's stopping you? You are not stopping yourself. So you have to look at it that way and start building capacity. Start doing it. Start growing it. Not just about, I'm passionate about research. I want to do research. I want to collaborate. I want to do that. I want to do that. But you also need to make conscious effort. And through this training, we're able to share insight of how you can go about it and where you can build capacity in as young person. So we see other classes where we explain some practical things when it comes to research. And I know Pharm, Bitrus, we also share valuable insights with you on how to go about research and what are the other skills, what are the other skills that you have to build. And so again, it's as a young person, because while he's still a student, he has also engaged in many research and also published different a lot of papers. So we have done it. So we're just sharing our own perspective with you. So capacity building, you can't stop it. You have to keep growing. You have to keep learning. So lastly, let me just end this with, there's something called pediatric journal. I will explain this later. As a young person, I know we all want to publish. There's some journals that if you submit their paper to them today, they will accept it tomorrow and they will publish it. And the thing is that the journal is not of high quality. We're not saying that you submit your journal to a paper to Lancet. No. Just when you're like the paper they are submitting, any journal you're submitting your work to, actually do peer review. Peer review means that colleagues in your field or maybe an expert in your field actually go through your work, give you feedback to improve on it. Most of us don't really like it from the beginning. We saw it to be a major problem. When you see reviewer comments, when a reviewer comments on your work, and you yourself will be sad, this comment is too much. But then if you look at it critically, we see that the comment being passed on your paper will actually improve your work. The critiques that you made of your paper will actually improve your paper. So now we don't see it to be a problem. Most of us don't see it. We just take it like that. Anytime they take us to finish the comments, they work on it and we submit it back. So though I will still explain the process of you submitting to journal, what is required, blah, 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 and how you do it. But I think we're running out of time so that Kenneth can also come in and share. So British journal is just a poor journal. They are just after your money, or they are not of high quality. They don't do peer review. They just accept paper and publish it down. Nobody's peer reviewing your work. No expert is reading your work to give you feedback. So it's not good for young researcher and not good for anyone to publish that in this kind of journal. So you can also read more about predatory journal. And I gave you one assignment that you should go on YouTube and listen or maybe watch a video on what is research or any video on research, on the basis of research. Just type it, it's there for you to read, now to watch. So it's very important that you do that. So I'll just hand over to Pharm to continue from there. Thank you so much for listening and see you soon. I think maybe next week or next week, I don't know. Thank you for following.
Thank you so much, Pharm. Adebayo, that was really explicit. I even had something to also jot down too from my hand. Thank you so much. I know that I am in the course of your teaching. I also jotted that for those who are also interested in things like data science, technology, you are also not left out in the field of research. You can also do a lot of research. I know that you can check out Pharm Oyewusi. I think she was recently appointed in the field of research and development for data science Nigeria. So you can see that every aspect actually there's in the field of research accommodates everyone. So there's space for you, regardless of whatever you decide to do. So Pharm Kenneth. So let me read a bio. Let me read Pharm Kenneth's bio.
Did you check in your app?
Let me try to mute that person. Sorry.
That means off.
Okay. Okay. So Pharm Kenneth Bitrus David is the editorial and translational coordinator, International Pharmaceutical Student Federation, and the founder of Pharmafluence, a youth-led organization with two major goals: improving the standard of education in Nigeria and carrying out public health activities. He studied pharmacy at the Kaduna State University and he finished as the best graduating student. Pharm Kenneth is currently he was an intern pharmacist in National Healthcare Center, Kaduna, and an MSc Pharmacology and Drug Development student at the All York Medical School, University of Hull, United Kingdom. As an undergraduate student, he epitomized that type of young student who is not necessarily exposed to research and early stage, but who through utter determination and unabashed love of interest has strengthened the fabric of this aspect, that's his research. He's hardworking, diligent, focused, and devoted to his specific field of interest. He's a certified peer reviewer from Elsevier and an alumnus of several research institutes. This further helped in fine-tuning his research and analytical thinking skills. Pharm Kenneth has attended various conferences and seminars, all of which were for the dual goals of self-improvement and networking. He has conducted several research works individually, in collaboration with other researchers, and as a research assistant. These papers have been published in highly reputable local and international journals. Currently, he is a reviewer with two journals: International Journal of High Risk Behavior and Addiction and International Journal of Health and Life Sciences. As a result of his active participation in public health activities, he was nominated for the Pharma News Pharmacist of the Year Award 2019 and the Pharma News Young Pharmacist of the Year Award 2020, an innovative introduced in 2018 by Pharma News to recognize and encourage innovation and active involvement of young pharmacists in public health care and community health and social development. Pharm Kenneth is currently unmarried and is in love with Jesus. Okay, but I know that Pharm Kenneth is actually currently doing his master's. So can you give us updated information before you proceed? So let's welcome Pharm Kenneth in today's session. And thank you so much for making the sacrifice to be here. Thank you so much.
No problem. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I'm so excited to be here. Well, I'm no longer the editor of the IPSF. I've just handed over. Then I'm no longer an intern pharmacist. I'm about to be mobilized for NYSC. And also I've rounded up my my MSc, although my result is not yet out. So I'll soon be done. So that's the update. But I'm still unmarried. I'm still in love with Jesus. So now, thank you very much, Pharma DBC, for that wonderful presentation. You've actually explained a lot of things. You spoke about almost everything I have on my slide. I even had to just look at some things. Okay, I really need to talk about them again. But anyways, let's go through them. Let me share my screen.
Head on, sir.
Good evening. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, okay. All right, we'll be looking at Introduction to Public Health Research. Time wouldn't permit us to go through everything. It's very, very voluminous. So I'll just say one or two things about it, and maybe subsequently we can be able to look at it further. All right, to look at what research is all about, just I think one slide. There was public health. Then look at the ethics. It is very, very important that we know ethical concerns. We know the right way of doing things rather than just indulging into it and doing it wrongly. Then we look at informed consent. It is one concept that is very, very important when you're dealing with research of this sort. Then also look at this last point. So what is research? As Adebisi has said, research is just when you have a question or a problem that you want to solve. When you have the WH question, who is doing this, where, when, how, what, why. When you have all this question, then you have an opportunity to conduct a research. So the first thing is just formulate a question. After determining what the question is, then how have others answered it? Is there an answer already? And you obtain that by doing what we call literature review. Then what you want to do, how does it fit in with what others have done? And at the end of the day, okay, when you conduct your own study, how do you know if the questions have been answered? So the question will be answered when you analyze your data and compare it with what other people have done. Then you can be able to know, okay, this is the answer to the question that I was having earlier. And when it's public health, it is just a term that refers to an act of preventing disease, prolonging life and health through organized effort of the society. So the key term here is the public, So whatsoever you're doing, you are dealing with humans. And as we're dealing with humans, you need to understand that humans are very complex beings and their lives are really, really important. So there are steps and ethical and ways you need to conduct such. We have different types of research, a lot of them, but I want to talk about two different types here. We have, okay, like the quantitative and the qualitative research. As name implies, quantity, it's also, quantity is like how much is there, So you're dealing with large numbers, say, the percentage, what's the percentage of individuals infected with COVID-19 last year? What's the percentage of males infected with COVID-19 after vaccination and all that? And the tool that you use here is the questionnaire. So if you're determining to have an assignment for you, you need to learn how do you write a questionnaire. What's the questionnaire? What are some of the components that need to be present in a questionnaire? So quantitative research, you just want to find out how much of something is there. Is it available there? Then for qualitative research, it is you just want to have in-depth information about something and not only by the numbers, as DBC has said. So here you have group discussions or interviews. And we have different types of research here. Some involves the use of either primary data or the secondary data, and the level of evidence differ. So this is the pyramid. The ones at the top, they require higher level of evidence. It means you need to look for a lot of other sources, a lot of other materials to be able to support what you want to do. And the one at the down, I don't know if you can see it. All right, it's animal or laboratory studies. So like research, all forms of research are like this. So we have animal or laboratory study. This one are not involved in human beings. It's just what is done in the lab, or if you just either in vitro or animal or in vivo studies. Then we also have the case report or case series. This one do not require any complicated stuff. So for the case report or the case series is just a detailed representation of a single case or a handful of cases. It's just like you telling a medical story, writing about a particular thing. Now, let's assume you are in a hospital and you discover that somebody is on an antihypertensive, and while he was on antihypertensive, you discovered something that was unlikely to happen. So you can now decide to conduct further study to determine the reason why something like that happened. So that is case report or case series. Then we also have case control studies. Now, this case control study is a retrospective study that has to do with you looking back and determining and comparing two groups. That means a group that has the medical condition, let's say lungs cancer. Then control group, these are the ones that do not have anything, you get. So group 1 has lungs cancer, group 2 they do not have lungs cancer. But then you want to know if exposure to smoke induces lungs cancer. So this is a form of case control studies. Cohort studies also there, randomized control trials also there. Then we have the meta-analysis or systematic reviews that involves high level of critical writing. That means you criticizing the work of others positively and then writing your own ideas in order to achieve a definite outcome. And some of the ethical issues are this. One, falsification of data is very, very wrong. Falsification of data is very wrong. Remember, I said in quantitative research, you make use of questionnaires. And one common practice among people is the temptation of falsifying the data they obtain, or filling the questionnaire themselves, or asking the people who are not eligible to conduct the study to fill the questionnaires for them, or doing a whole lot of other things that are not right. So that's very, very wrong. It should not be recorded among you. Another one is the use of not informing people about what the study is all about. That means the subjects do not have adequate information about the study, or they did not give any consent. You manipulated them to get their own, to get them to fill the questionnaire. That's very, very wrong, and it's very common, but it should not be done by you all. Then when it comes to publication, we have three different ethical concerns here. One, duplicate publication. Two, authorship, ethical issues that involve authorship. They also have another form of scientific misconduct. Just example is plagiarism. Duplicate publication means republishing the same findings. Let's say you conduct a research here and you discover that it was very, very wonderful. The results was great. So you just feel like making a publication in two different journals so that it will increase your number of publication, or by changing the title, you get, so that people will not be able to identify and know that, okay, these things are actually the same. Then another one is submitting the same manuscript to or more journals at once. How it's done is that if you send an article for publication to one journal, no matter how long it takes, you have no right to make the submission to another journal again. You have to either retract your document, retract the manuscript, or you get an official rejection mail. That's when you can make another submission to a different journal. Then you're also not allowed to divide one research into many little papers. If you have a very nice work, you can decide to divide it into two, maybe different sections. Maybe the first one talks about a different aspect. The second one talks about another one. You can do that, but the slices must not be too much. If it's too much, we call that salami, salami slicing. Then, and okay, I forgot to say something here. If you send an abstract for, if you send an abstract for publication, for presentation at a conference, you can send the whole manuscript to another journal for publication. It's ethical. Then another one is authorship. Who can be an author? Authorship International Committee of Medical Journal Editors states that authorship should be based on substantial contribution to the conception and design of a paper, or acquisition of data, or analysis and interpretation of data, or drafting the article, or revising critically for important intellectual content, and final approval of the version to be published. I know of something that is happening right now. We call that ghost authorship. That means writing somebody's name even without him even without him being involved in the research. It is not right. So it should not be done by you. So the best way of doing this is to discuss the order of authorship at the beginning. If let's say 4 of you want to conduct a research, you discuss, okay, who will be the corresponding author, and what is the arrangement of names, who come second, who come third, who come last. Then after completing the manuscript, you now revisit the decision. Is it how it's going to stand, or we need to alter it? Then if there's any change, it needs to be documented. And the reason why authorship is important is that your name being included in a publication is not really an issue, but will you be able to take full responsibility if something goes south? Let's assume you make a publication and there's a component of it that goes against regulations. And let's say the authors will have to be penalized. Do you take full responsibility? Do you agree to take full responsibility for the content? If your answer is yes, fine. But then you have to follow these guidelines as mentioned in the previous slide. Then we also have what's called plagiarism. It means copy and paste. It means writing somebody's content and referring it as your own. Even if you cite, let's assume you copy something directly from a text into your manuscript and you cite it, let's say Adebayo et al. It is still regarded as plagiarism, as it is the same idea and the same words being spoken by the original author. So the right way of doing it is paraphrasing it. Read everything, then write it in your own words. Then you still have to cite at the end of the day, at the end of the sentence. So the identical policy adopted by a journal is, if the similarity is about 15%, it is allowed. It's allowed. But from 16 to 30%, you'll be invited to revise it. It's about 31 to 50% similar to other literature, it will be rejected outrightly. If it's over 50%, it will be rejected and you'll be asked for an explanation. Then the ethical research movement, according to Nuremberg Code, states that for every research to be conducted using humans as the subject, informed consent is very, very essential. It's absolutely essential. And the researcher should be qualified and they should use appropriate research designs. That means you should use either case reports or cohort study or case control study or meta-analysis, anything you want to do at all, it should be the appropriate a design. Then if you look at it very well also, it should be it should have a favorable risk-benefit ratio. It should not be a type of research that would affect the well-being of the subject adversely. Then it's voluntary. You don't force anybody to be a participant in your survey. It is really voluntary, and the participant can withdraw the consent at any time. So as we made mention earlier, informed consent is absolutely essential. And I know that one of the gaps that most young researchers or even renowned researchers face is the inability to obtain informed consent while conducting research. So what is informed consent? Is the process by which a subject voluntarily confirms his or her willingness to participate in particular study after having been informed of all the aspects of the trial that are relevant to the subject decision to participate. It is documented by means of a written, signed, or dated informed consent form. But mind you, an individual signing a consent form does not mean he is obligated to complete the study. At any point in time, consent can be withdrawn, just like sexual consent. At any point in time, it can be withdrawn, and the participant is under no obligation to give you reasons why he is opting out of the study. So informed consent is consent given by a competent individual who has received the necessary information. You tell him everything about the study, what the study is all about, and you must also make sure that he understands the information. And after considering the information, he has arrived at a decision without having been subjected to coercion, undue influence or inducement or intimidation. He does it voluntarily. I'll share a story with you, my experience as a research assistant for the FASTER study, a study that we just rounded up in August shortly. So ideally, this is how the process is. You introduce the trial to the person, you meet the person, okay, hello, my name is so and so. I'm here, okay, I'm a research assistant for so and so, this is it. So you now try to get, you're now trying to give the person a written or verbal information about the study. Then you give the person sufficient time to think about everything you've said and ask any question that he has. Then if he agrees, then he signs the consent form. When he signs the consent form, you'll now it's just like the next one. Then you could continue with the study. And if there's any change in the research design, you have to inform the subject, and you can decide whether to consent or not as well. So now for the study we conducted, FASTER study is a study that involves accessing assessing the social life and the alcohol drinking pattern of individuals attending emergency departments in 3 different hospitals in England. That means in Hull, in Skimby, and in Leeds. So in the study, now the first step is you to approach the patients and say, initially I didn't know about this. All that we did in Nigeria and what my lecturers actually made me to do was just to meet someone and say, hello, excuse me, please, I would like you to help me fill this questionnaire without any detail about the study, without inform the patient of the implication and how the data will be used and of what relevance would the result be to him. So at least, so I learned. So now the ideal thing is to meet the person, introduce yourself to the person, tell him what the study is all about. Then ideally you're supposed to have an information sheet. The information sheet should contain information about the study. If you don't mind, if you would like, I would I'll send the information sheets for the faster study to you after the class. Then you give the person 5 minutes or 10 minutes to think about, to read everything and think about it. Then the second visit will you to come and meet the person to ask if he asks any question or if he's interested in taking part in the study. If the person consents, you then give him the consent form to read and fill and sign. So once the person signs, you can then continue with the questionnaire and all that. So that is the ideal way of doing things. Meet the person, introduce yourself, tell him about the study, and let him read it himself. Then ask him another time if he has any question or if he is interested in the study. If he is, then can continue with the study. That's the ideal way of doing it. I just feel, let me just do, because most of the study that have been conducted recently, they do not really follow this and it's unethical. Most especially those being shared via WhatsApp. Just say, I beg, help me fill this questionnaire. And if the person does not fill it, you will now feel offended. So there's nothing to be offended about. It's optional, voluntary. Then we have different approach to consent. You may be faced with a study group that do not have the ability to consent. We have the vulnerable, we have the incapacitated adults or minors. Minors are people that are less than 18 years. So how do you go about that? Now, when you're dealing with vulnerable groups, okay, these are the things that you need to be aware of. They require special protection when being included in study. You should make sure that you have somebody of integrity and you not do anything that would affect them. Then they should not be included in clinical trials if the same results can be obtained using people who are able to give their own consent. Then whatever study you want to involve them, it should be related to what they suffer from. And no incentive should be given whatsoever, except in very rare condition, very, very rare. Now, because giving incentive might affect the results that you get. Now, let us want to conduct a study that has to do with something that's okay. Now let us I want to conduct something that has to do with the perception of. Okay, let us I'm a lecturer, and I meet my students. I say, okay, I want them to help me fill a questionnaire. Then I give them money, or I give them something, an incentive. Now, definitely, even if they want to give an honest feedback, they will not want to do. They will not want to write anything that would make me unhappy. You get. So that's why giving incentives is not really recommended for all research that has to do with the public. Then what if you don't obtain informed consent? And the right, safety, and well-being of the patient may be compromised. Then it could be waste of time and resources, because if a regulatory agency finds out that, okay, this is what you've done, you conducted this research without obtaining consent, informed consent from the subject, it may be disapproved. The study may be null and void, and you can face some consequences. Then your reputation may be affected as well. The integrity of the data would be affected as well. The subject can sue. The subject can sue. Even if he signs that, he may say you forced him to do it. Then ethical approval may be withdrawn. And without ethical approval, you cannot conduct a lot of studies. Future proposals may also not be supported. Then one other thing that I want to talk about, I know Adebayo said something related to that, so that's why I skipped a lot of things. Now, if you conduct a study, not all studies have to be published in a journal, but most studies need the information need to be disseminated to the general public. And two ways of doing that is, one, during conferences, or two, by sending it to different journals for publications. And most of the journals that we have now, they are what's called the predatory journals. A predatory journal is one that actively asks researchers for manuscripts. You agree with me that if you've ever made a publication and you have your email as and you are there as a corresponding author, that means your email address is there. You keep receiving different messages from different journals requesting you to make submission to their own journal for a lot of reasons. Some may say um, the acceptance rate is very high. Some will say they'll review it very fast and make the publication very fast. Some will say the APC, that means article processing charge, is very, very low, and a whole lot of other claims like that. But so you have to just, most of them are under this category, although not all, but most of them. So, and they have no peer review system and they have no true editorial board and are often found to publish mediocre or worthless papers. And they may just ask you for APC, and APC may be huge and sometimes may just be moderate. And most of the journals, most of the journals are Asian journals. You see Asian journals of this, Indian journal of that, and all that. Then we have those from Africa. Then we have 18% from Western countries. And I want you to be mindful of any journal that has the name International Journal of something. There's nothing international about most of them. You have to be very careful. 60% are from Asia. Then we have some from Africa, then other Western countries. Then most of the journals having the name international attached to them. The international is just to make so many people interested in the journal and deceive them. So that really, really there. So normal journals have a lot of things that may discourage you. And some of these include the peer review, and you need to make different revisions. And even after doing all of these things, you can have rejection at the end of the day. Now, there was an article that we sent since last year. It was I, Don, and some other people from Zambia and the rest. We made the submission since last year, September. We only got approval around August this year, and up till now it has not been published. So that is how long it can take. But most of these other journals on the second aspect, they just say, greetings, we adore your research. They will not criticize your work. They will not do anything. And regardless of the content, they just make the publication, which is at your own disadvantage. So what are some of the features? Now, these are some of the features, although not all of them have this. So one, the scope of interest are on varied subjects. If you see any journal that has article from different areas, let's say from accounting, from health, from economics, management, and so many other things, no specification, then you should be aware of that journal. Then the website contains spelling and grammar errors. Then the description of the manuscript handling process is lacking. They may not really tell you, okay, after making the submission, okay, this is what would have the editor would look at it and see if this goes if it goes in line with the guidelines of the journal. Then after that, it will now be sent to reviewers who now review it and send feedback and all that. Most of this information will be missing. Then the manuscripts are requested to be submitted via email. Most of them are really predatory. Then you'll be promised that your article will be published rapidly and there's no retraction policy. That means once you make the submission, you cannot retract it back most of the time. The information on whether and how the journal content will be digitally preserved is absent. They won't tell you whether it will be on ResearchGate, it will be on Google Scholar, it will be on PubMed. Most of this information will be missing. And the contact email is non-professional. And so most times it's so and so at yahoo.com, at ymail.com, or at gmail.com. So you need to be beware of that journal. So for instance, a researcher in 2013, he made an article, he made a fake article and he submitted it to 304 open access journals, including over 100 that he thinks are really predatory. And this article that is submitted had lots of methodological errors, and the data are fake researchers, a lot of errors. And surprisingly, over 8% of the predatory journals accepted the paper. And the acceptance took only 40 days on average. 60% of acceptance occurred with no sign of any peer review. So you see, as I was saying, most of them just want to just accept the paper and make the publication, and the consequence is much. So even when they say they review it, maybe they just look at the layout, the formatting, and the language. They'll say use Arial, or change this to, instead of is, you should change it to us and all that. So that's an example and an evidence that this is real. So why is it a problem? One is lack of credibility. Your manuscript or the paper will not be seen as a proper science peer-reviewed article. And once you make a submission to one journal, you may not be able to resubmit it to another journal. It's already there. It's not the copyright property of the predatory journal. Then you can have lack of visibility. Most of them are not included in in some databases, e.g. the World of Science or Medline or even PubMed. So even after making the publication, you can be really surprised that after 2 years, you are the only one that has read your paper, or maybe only 2 people has read it. And your name may also be associated, maybe associated to one of these journals, because they can just make publication of all their contributors, even without asking for your own consent. So what you need to do is that, what you need to know is there's no list that's sufficient. Even if you go online and see list of predatory journals, you see some, but then the list is non-exhaustive. You have to do it yourself. You have to investigate yourself. Just make use of these guidelines and always verify the claims. So use the think, check, submit checklist. Think about everything. Check. When you are very satisfied, you then make the submission. Then you also ask your network, ask other people who you think are knowledgeable about article publication to help you determine whether a journal is a predatory one or it's a good one. Then what do you do if you have already made a submission of your work? Now you try to retract it immediately. Just write an email to the editor, tell him you want to retract it. Then you should not pay anything. You should not pay anything. Usually it's after acceptance that they'll say you should pay you should pay the fee. So if you discover that if you've made a submission and later you discover that it's predatory journal, you should not pay for anything. Now, even if they say you do not need to pay, just retract the paper. Then if they refuse, say that you take legal action unless they let you retract the paper, and do it now. Act quickly. So if you observe, everything is all about retraction. Just retract. Tell them you want to retract. They'll say, okay, you have to pay this. Say you not pay. Even if they say, okay, even if you don't want to pay, we'll still make the publication for you for free, or they may be giving you discount. Still say you want to retract. The same thing happens when I wanted to when I wanted to publish my undergraduate dissertation. It was a very, very rich work. It was an ethnomedicinal survey. It took me months to write the manuscripts only. So I sent it to a journal, and after everything they said, okay, the APC is low. I think it's about $150. I accepted the offer. So when they accepted the paper now, they said I should pay. But then a part of me was saying, no, something is wrong with this. I don't want to publish it again. So, okay, after some weeks, they said, okay, instead of me to pay 150 US dollars, I should pay 100. I didn't send anything. 2 weeks later, they said I should pay 50. 3 weeks later, they said I should pay 25. At the end of the day, they said they will even make the publication for free. I then said no. I want to retract the paper, else I'll take legal action. That was how they allowed me to do that. Because once I allowed them to make the publication, I cannot be able to make the publication again. So automatically I've wasted that thing already. So then publish your article within few days after you submitted, even if you didn't pay or send in a revised version. And before you realize you fell into the trap, the article will have a DOI. That means a digital object identifier, and will appear in databases such as ResearchGate and Google. Automatically, it's there already. There's nothing you can do again. And once it appears online, it will be impossible to get it published elsewhere, unless you convince the editors of the new journal that this was what happened, and if they want to help you, fine. So that's the summary of everything. So in as much as we are young people, we want to be involved in research, we also have to know the ethical ways of doing things and learn. As Adebisi said, always read a lot of things, watch YouTube videos, read things online, and read a lot of other articles. Now, by reading, you learn how to write, and the more you write, the more you gain mastery of the whole thing. Okay, thank you for listening, but I would like to say something about PIH. I want to commend your efforts. You guys are doing an amazing job. I wish I was really one of you. I wish I had this opportunity when I was a student. I would have been a 9-star pharmacist. I believe one of the goals of PIH is to make sure that the next generation of pharmacists that we have, they are no longer 8-star pharmacists. Maybe they are 9 stars, or in fact 15-star pharmacists. And well done, everyone. And congratulations to all the participants. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for listening. If you have any question, you can ask.
Thank you so much, from Kenneth. Thank you so much, from Adebisi. It was really enlightening. Thank you so much. So if you have any questions, this is the time to ask your question. This is the time to ask your question. Please, if you have any question, this is the time to ask your question. Thank you so much, from Kenneth, for helping us to explain the pediatric journal, everything.
You're welcome, Layo.
Okay, I don't think I can see. Oh, okay. Somebody is asking if the slides can be made available after the session. And by the way, Famtiwo also shared a very nice write-up on the group page that was written by Pharm Kenneth. And I would really encourage everyone to read it. It was very inspiring. Pharmacy chose me, narrative of a 7-star pharmacist. I think by now it should be 9-star pharmacist.
I completely forgot about it.
9-star It was really, really, really so inspiring. It was really so inspiring. Talk so much about not giving up. And I really encourage everyone to even read it after now. And don't also forget the assignment that Pharm Adebayo Yusuff shared with everyone. Please don't forget. Okay, so please, can you make the slide available? I don't, if you don't mind, can just share the slide with me on WhatsApp so that I can share it with everyone.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah, I already have some slides.
All right, let me send it right now.
So I think since nobody has any
I think
question.
Oluwaseun is raising his hand. Oluwaseun.
Oh, okay. Oluwaseun, please, you can unmute your mic. Oh, yes. Seun, please, you can unmute your mic to ask your question.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Also thank you, Pharm, for the information, and also from DBC. So please, outline also articles, reading articles for publications. That's if you want to read other people's articles. As I saw it, like two different ones. There are one that are they are scholarly and popular. Like, how can one differentiate between them, sir?
Sorry, I didn't get you very well. The network is not really too good.
Okay. Okay. I'm asking that
I thought it was my mic.
Read articles online. How can we differentiate between some scholarly articles and unpopular articles? Do you get me, sir?
I can't tell you very well, but then let me just say something regarding that. Okay, the truth of the matter is that you cannot read everything. You can't read everything. You have to filter what you read. So if there's any topic of interest to you, one easy way of finding them is by going to PubMed. I believe that most of the journals that are PubMed indexed are really good. Most of them are good. Although even Google Scholar can actually get some. So any news you get, it'd be nice for you to get a scientifically proven version of it. So you can just go to PubMed and just search for what you're looking for, or you go to Google Scholar. You would actually find more articles there. Okay, but the truth of the matter is that you cannot read everything. So just filter what you can read. Oluwaseun, is that what you asked? Does that say the question you asked?
I think I already typed the question in the comment section, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I said that I already typed the question in the comment section.
All right, how can we differentiate between scholarly and
That's scholarly.
popular article? It's by the content. It's by the content. Most of the scholarly article, they give more in-depth analysis of everything, and they may not necessarily be written by scientists, but they may be written by specialists in that field. Okay, so and if you look at an article by merely looking at it, you can be able to know if this person is really knowledgeable about it. But then you should not back on, okay, you should not just hold only one article, try to verify from other sources, because half knowledge is really bad. So let's assume somebody is highly knowledgeable, but he's having a conflict of interest about the subject matter. I can write so many evil things about that subject matter. And you, as a young individual who is carried away by knowledge, who loves knowledge, and you just read it, you say, oh, wow, this guy has really dissected a lot of things about this. I love this. Okay, this is what is the truth. But on the contrary, it may not be like that. So if you see an article, you can be able to identify if this is really a good article by the content and by the reputation of the author. But then I would advise to read more than one source. Read maybe 2 or 3. It is different things. So if everything is in line, if everything is related, then you can be able to say, okay, yeah, this is really true.
Okay, thank you so much, Pharm Kenneth. So I have a question, and I also want to ask Pharm Kenneth and Pharm Yusuff, but Pharm Kenneth can go first. Oh, Pharm Yusuff is not here. Okay, so Pharm Kenneth, what are the challenges you faced? What are the challenges that you experienced as a student researcher, and how did you overcome these challenges?
All right, okay. Now let me tell you a brief story. If you read that story, you discover that my journey has not really been easy. It was only the grace of God that has made me to be who I am today. I'm nothing actually, but then if at least I believe grace was working. I was one of I was one of the pioneer students of a state university, Kaduna State University to be precise. I know Kaduna State is in the north. Okay. Kaduna State is in the north, and my university is not a very big university. It's just a new university. It's just less than 15 years old. So one, I'm from the north, although north is very good. Two, I'm attending a university that is not too big, and I'm I'm one of the pioneer sets of the Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences that do not have so many professors. Most of our lecturers then, they were only MSc holder. Then some were already doing their PhDs. Most of the professors we had were visiting. So we're not really exposed to research at a very young age. Although I was a very inquisitive individual since I was in primary school. I was very inquisitive about a lot of things. So when I came to the university, there were so many things I wanted to know about, so many things, so many research I wanted to conduct. But then I could not find anybody who I could actually meet with, whose energy would augment mine. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so most of the energies around me were negative energies. Most of my mates, they were not even involved. They were not even interested in that. And the way the system was really structured was that, okay, since we're the first set, we had so many things that were disturbed, so many things, so many. If I most, if you look at the curriculum of the Kaduna State University, you'll be shocked. As if it's an MS, as if it's an MS program. Do you understand? So the theoretical aspect was very, very much, and fewer of extracurricular activities, because one SUG was also discouraged. So there was no student union. There was no any form of extracurricular activity, only lectures, then go to practicals and all that. So it's a very crazy situation. So it was a really, really challenging one. So it was much later that I said, come on, I can't really remain like that, because I know where I'm going to. And I know that research is really one of the things that can help me to achieve that. Do you understand? Conducting research and making some publications, I believe they would open a lot of doors for me securing scholarship for my MSc as well as PhD. So I started learning on my own. I started reading a lot of things about that. I read a lot of things. So when I was in 500 level, I volunteered to be a research assistant to my dean although he discouraged that initially because he was saying I should concentrate on my studies and all that. So I just felt I told him my CGPA is okay, and I know that I will not have any carryover or receipt. So at it was, I'll have only 50%. At it was, I'll have a C. So let me be involved in something that is not really related to my academics. So that's how I started my research assistantship. And as a research assistant, he gave me a lot of tasks, a lot of other things to help him with. And that's how I learned. Then I started working with other people as well in the faculty, meeting lecturers, although most of them were not really receptive at the beginning, but I insisted, I anakazoed them, I used compelling power. And so most of them now started giving me opportunity. We started working together and all that. So I think by the time I was done with school, I was now having 2 more years, no accreditation. After 1 year, we got a new accreditation. So within that 1 year, I then involved in so many other things while waiting for accreditation and induction. I then said, okay, let me collaborate with other people. Then I started collaborating with people with other pharmacy students and lecturers from Adebayo University. Then when I was nominated for the Pharma News Pan Site of the Year Award, I got to meet other people. I was nominated alongside Adebisi, Yusuff, Melody, Ijoba, and Christy Alagbe. So after that, we now, at least I found other people that had the same energy as myself. So that's how we started working and started collaborating, and here we are today. It was really challenging one, really challenging, but then at the end of the day, everything is now okay. So you just have to know what you want. Look at your life. Always live in the future. Always live in the future. This 2021, right? Always say, okay, where do I see myself in the next 5 years? Then start work. What are the things that I need to achieve? What are the requirements? Then start working. If you are doing that, you really go far. Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pharm Kenneth. Thank you so much. Okay, so there's another question. How do we search for these articles, especially for thesis and term papers? Google most of the time gives a generalized result from Annalise.
All right, Annalise. It depends on what you are looking for. If you're looking for, you said you're looking for article, especially for thesis and term papers, okay? So you need scholarly articles, right? So if you listen very well, I mentioned earlier that most of the journals are indexed to some other databases. It can be ResearchGate, it can be Medline, it can be World of Science, it can be PubMed, it can be Google Scholar, but not all of them are really indexed to all of these databases, okay? But the commonest ones are the ResearchGate, as well as the Google Scholar. So if you need any article of any sort, you just need to know the keywords of the topic or of the subject matter. Then just go you go to googlescholar.com. So there you see search. Then now impute the keywords there, and you see a lot of results. You can also go to PubMed Central. If you go there and search, you see so many other things. And if you need specifics, if you want only articles indexed in, let's say, ResearchGate, after imputing, let's say, the topic or the keywords of the topic, you then write ResearchGate at the end. So you now see results that are related to ResearchGate. I hope that works. I just wish we have time so we can just look at it practically, but then I believe this explanation would suffice.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Okay, so Odike Chidima, I know that the story is really inspiring. So you can also read more on it from the link that Pharm shared on the group. Thank you so much, Pharm, Kenneth, and Pharm Adebisi in absentia. Thank you, everyone, for joining the meeting. Of course, we also said that we would, because we know that research sessions like this is something that we have to do at least more than once, and probably even groom and train people to also be experts. So we know that soon we'll announce the research hub for these cohorts. And another tip is that I don't know if I should drop this high classified information. but, but then for those that will be paired with Pharm Kenneth as mentees, you know that you also have more to learn. So, and you can also connect with Pharm Kenneth via LinkedIn. Pharm Kenneth, can you help us with your LinkedIn profile? Or what platform do you think people should connect with you
LinkedIn
best?
is just my name.
Oh, okay, great. So if you
Kenneth
have
Bitrus
further
David.
questions, okay, thank you so much. If you have further questions, you need collaborations, you just want to volunteer for a while to learn, shoot your shot. So you can reach out to Eve on LinkedIn to shoot your shot too. It's not bad to ask. A closed mouth is the one that will suffer. We have days to say that. So please learn, and you can also reach out to him. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's not forget to be geared up for the week's activities, because we have a lot of things pumped in for you this week. Also, don't forget to do the assignments that Pharm Adebisi shared with you all. And I would also share the slides to the group page. Thank you so much, everyone. And have a great evening. Thanks so much, Pharm Kenneth, once again for the sacrifice. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.